What are you excited to see? Obviously, this is just day one, right? And we talk about all the time, day one teams versus day two teams. What are you guys hoping to see out of just day one?
Well, now I'm excited to see who's going to be dropped on. Is there going to be the surprise contested, like Vivid saying, these little whispers that's going on that could completely shake up the way that things go in the FNCS? And there's one thing that I always say about Fortnite is that it is unpredictable. You truly do not know if a POI is going to even be there the next day or who's going to be landing on you. The best thing about these players is their adaptability.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the season, right, we're all been like, man, there's kind of like a lack of tournaments. We can't really see what's going on the NA, and then the changes that happen every single week, right? It's like if you go ahead and take notes throughout the season in preparation for this grand finals, right? And it's all like just like a stack of paper with all those notes. Yeah, all of them just get thrown out like every single day. It's like, and you just got to rewrite them down. So I'm excited to get into game number one. I want a formulated kind of plan and an expectation to be set for the rest of the 11 games. Because as of right now, it kind of feels like we have no idea what's going to happen. So game one for me is going to be like, okay, what's going on? Let me pay attention to every little detail.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you have to pick what's a tree to win right now, who's it gotta be? Who's it gonna be? Pick one.
Oh,
Don't think about it.
Peterbot.
Go.
Peterbot.
Kelly's going with Peterbot. Listen, I love Peterbot. I've kind of been on the Peterbot train for a very long time. I think they're going to do very, very good, but I think the storyline would just be too good right now to not say Clix Higgs.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That's fair. Look, Kelly, I feel like there's just so many names, right? It's like, dude, you just look at the lobby list. It's like, bro, you could tell me like 20 different trios and I'd be like, yeah, all of them could win. Absolutely. We'll have to just see how things unfold, how forgiving the zone is. And we all know it ain't forgiving at all. So with that being said, it is that time. 6 games today and then 6 games tomorrow. And we will finally know and see the full picture of which trios will be going on to the Global Championship in Beyond. Fortnite fam, buckle up because game one starts now.
Thankfully, Monster, I've been buckled up since the start of the show. And let's take a trip real quick. Major 1, a 14-point difference between first and second place. Major 2, 11-point difference between first and second place. Monster, I hope this weekend that trend continues.
Major 2 was absolute cinema. I think it put NA just at the front line of pure entertainment. No matter what we know for certain that we are in store for great games and some wonderful action. And then we've already talked about it. You have a wild card trio in the mix here coming up from Brazil. So I am so looking forward to what's going to unfold here at the north side of the map. I almost feel bad that they are all so close to one another because anything can happen now.
Yeah, especially if we get a lot of those north zones, forcing those teams to kind of interact very, very early on in some of these games. But I want to say about that probability chance that Kinch kind of broke down. To me, if I was one of those teams that was not in that top 5, that would light a fire in my heart to kind of perform the very best that I can. There's only 2 more spots up for grabs with 6 teams already qualified. So you don't even necessarily have to shoot for the top of the leaderboard. But you guys heard that sound. The battle bus is ready. Let's get into game number 1.
Grand finals time, baby. Game number 1's kicking off here, and now Major 3 has arrived. And what a time to be alive. What a time to be a Fortnite fan as we get to watch this here with front row seats to the action, Jacob. Obviously, it couldn't be a better time now to push your way through the globals. We already know most of the big ticket teams have nothing to worry about. It's about what spots are remaining here.
Yeah, and already I can see the drop map. The dust is settled. Everybody marking their spot early on before the tournament. Oh, I'm contested so-and-so. Oh, I'm going here. You can see Peterbot uncontested. Clix uncontested. Kanata uncontested. And right here, right now, uncontested as well. If you look at the opinions of a lot of the Fortnite community, those are the top 4 teams that are in the race for the championship. And to start off game number 1, Monster, all of them uncontested.
What I love, too, is like all the interview content we kind of got in lead up. You got to hear essentially from the players themselves, Kanata, how he has no doubt in his mind he'll be taking a seat to globals, how Acorn feels like now more than ever this is more competitive now that he isn't wiping Pollo out the early game of the map here. And then let's jump in with Muzz, Shadow, and Sphinx. Obviously, last chance qualifier on the line when it matters most. They come through, they clutch up, they put in the work. And now running through a team like Bryce, right, clashing up against this squad right here, this is a player, this is a trio that have slowly and consistently shown that they can even win in LAN settings as well. So this is a pretty big battle, Jacob.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with it. I like the way you were kind of heading with that conversation. When you look at the names of Dash, Skittles, and Bryce, you may not see them as kind of the top names, a name to be scary, but already throughout this season, they kind of moved on over to the resistance space, and this not been an easy fight, no matter who has been contesting this side of the map, and already proven they could be a force to be reckoned with. Yes, Muzz, Shadow, they still got to fight for that reboot card. We'll see how much success we find over there, but back over to the last order. This is where you can kind of see that off-spawn fight. 3 teams over here, Monster, triple contested. Nico's in such a tough spot underneath. Liam shows up at a perfect time to pressure not one, but all 3 of those teams to try to slow down the push.
Nice little tag there for Liam to kind of open this one up. You know, first order is not big enough for 3 trios by any means, so these fights are going to get pretty scrappy here. I'm more interested to see who's going to make an adjustment coming out of this. This is not the place you want to be for a grand finals, right? For some, it's their first time making their appearance, right? Their first true time trying to get their feet kind of wet in this upper level of competition. For others like Liam, I mean, very experienced. He's holding its own right now very nicely.
Yeah, just kind of jumping, creating distance. May not be big 105 shots by any means, but he's at least fighting back just like that, chipping him down little by little. Josh was down first. Tyler follows him to the lobby. Curb with 13 HP does have some heals in his inventory if he could manage a way to escape. But it's just not only that team that you have to worry about. There's still a third trio there. They might not be all 3 members up, but they're still a threat. But in the distance from Porta Potty, Liam, that's why you know they're landing here. They just know the terrain so well.
Such a good read, such a beautiful just kind of angle play there from Liam, but more importantly, talk about holding his own in the 2v1, just in the box fight capability. So Liam clearly feeling very much good, warmed up. Take a look at that tag right there to give him the advantage. Just everything you expect from a very much experienced trio here, an individual like Liam. Jumping into the other things, though, Sphinx getting picked up here, looks like from the reboot, but Dash, Bryce, and Skittles absolutely ready for the action here. Get a couple opening tags. Shadow going to come down to him to go on and put up some good defense right now, and Muzz playing wonderful side angles there. Is going to go on and defend properly.
Yeah, I see the idea. Sphinx fresh off the reboot. They know they got half damage there. So they thought for a second he was kind of positioned by himself. They looked like they were going to push him by, but Muzz right there basically saving the day. They get the reboot up. Sphinx doesn't even get downed, and that's going to be the biggest difference maker. He gets downed, you know as well as I do. This trio probably pushes, trying to keep their numbers intact, but the fact that those trees essentially saving the day, not giving them the line of sight to get that knock on the Sphinx, forcing them to kind of disengage on out. And you know how stacked this side of the zone is. They're trying to move on over, but they're stuck between now Muzz's team and Reed's team over at Flooded Frogs.
Yeah, this is a tough spot to be in. This rotate's not going to be easy. It's going to get real exciting here for Skittles, Bryce, and Dash. And I mean, it's from one problem straight into another. Reed's going to need to find his Storm Surge. We'll see what's all going to fold there shortly. But first, take a look at this replay here. Couple big eliminations there, kicking things off for Madden's team. On the other side, we have a little sample of Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual set up here, playing, again, a huge Storm base, pushing it way outwards so that you're kind of in the render distance for the trios in a distance. This is one of those strategies that is no stranger to the upper Fortnite competition, right? What you really have to be careful of is how high the thresholds are going to be now as the game starts to develop.
Yeah, and you can kind of see that, you know, Vivid, Kelly, Zeke, they all broke it down from major to major. Those thresholds just getting higher and higher. That's just more and more teams taking note of what's going on around the map. That risk versus reward. Yeah, you can be flashy. You could try to box fight the nearest team next to you, but that kind of increases a third-party chance, increases your own chance of going down. And that's why you see these massive, massive surge towers, 6 to 7 layers high, spreading the distance to cover that render distance you were talking about. And the amount of heals around these uncontested POIs, Crime City here being one of them. You saw it, Ritual kind of converging all those heals at the bottom of these ramps all into one location. So when they do take an immense amount of damage, it's so easy for them to start to heal up, get back into full health. And the other difference maker is, even if they do get a down monster, they're so far across the map by the time they try to push over. If they were, that player is going to be up, he's going to be revived, and he's going to be full health.
Yeah, but what you're looking at right now is like not all Storm Surge is treated equal. Like Kanata has by far gotten the better, of this trio here as they've kind of look to fire at one another. So you do have to be careful. Like, even look at Oliver OG's setup right now, right? Take all this damage. You still need to recover. You still have a whole game ahead of you. And truly, it will come down to who is the better team at the end of the day.
Kind of seeing Oliver just going and getting all the scraps back. We talked about Ritual trying to bring all the loot on over to one spot. That's Oliver's job for this stream. Everybody kind of has their respective roles. We talk about IGLs, fraggers, support players. Well, somebody's got to get the heals to keep everybody healthy. Bugha doing the same thing. Utopia, they kind of spread out in a triangle formation. Usually threats kind of towards the north of Utopia. Craze watching the south side of the map. Bugha watching the Shining Spans part. And he noticed no team went on over to this bunker. He immediately beelined over with his misform, grabbed all the extra loot there. But he is only C rank, so there is still going to be more and more as the superhero ranks upgrade, more access to those chests. So if a team does continue to pull towards the south, I can maybe see Bugha threats and Craze trying to rotate over there and get that little bit of extra loot.
And they'll need it. And most certainly these hero ranks absolutely matter when it comes to getting the unlocks for that upper tier kind of itemization. Looking at Cyclops, VLEX H2, kind of playing deep in the storm right now. Doing a nice little wide rotate here as they try to find themselves into the new zone.
Talk about the island. They brought up the tweet a little bit saying Boxcars, Island, Spire, we're keying absolutely everything. Ironically enough, the fight's going down below the island, so if they can find some rifts, they can easily try to get out of this position, take the high ground on over. It might be just a little bit too risky getting caught in those wind tunnels. You're just kind of open, susceptible to getting tagged up. And that's Taki, Isho, and Vert underneath. And this is a team that's been getting better each and every single major as individuals and as teammates.
One thing seems pretty clear right now is that Ishu, Taki, and Vert have gotten the better of Peterbot's team. That as far as this initial engagement is concerned, you saw all of the shields on Ritual and Cold were at least around that 50% mark, and they seem to have kind of had to slow down there. So likely giving up the island, but getting the better of them, at least in that initial exchange.
Yeah, damage. It's like currency, allows you to flexibly walk around the map, rotate from zone to zone, especially if you get one of those dreaded max pools. As Ritual Cold, Peterbot, they took that rift I was talking about. They got on top of the island, realizing no team's really going to contest them up there, and immediately goes from the island back on over towards Brutal Boxcars Mountain to try to take these priority positions in order to start to continue to accumulate that storm surge.
Yeah, they're not wasting any time. The team hot on their heels here. This is just what looks to be a preparation in full effect right now. And I absolutely love to watch this high caliber Fortnite in action right now. We'll get a little update with Peterbot in a couple moments, but first we got some action here. Zavi, Neko getting right back at it. Like, let's not forget first order base. Obviously they won that initial fight. The team that was here, Jigs, and the rest of the team had seemingly gotten their loot together, but they need that fight, right? They need the damage, most importantly here.
Yeah, and just kind of one of those situations where, you know, they are able to take down one of the three trios that did land over here. I believe they have a 3v2 advantage, and the zone is still close by, so they don't have the pressure to rotate on out just yet. But for Neko and Zavi, it's a whole different story. Depending on whether or not they got the reboot card or not, they might not be in that position to have the same flexibility, especially pressure coming in from both sides. Zavi getting most of his shields knocked off. And they're just getting surrounded. You see them just taking that different approach, just trying to lurk around, hide the video modules, and just kind of strike when they can.
I'm not gonna lie, it looks like desperation starting to kick in here. Metal being thrown all across this bottom layer. Neko trying to kind of plan the ambush from the side angle. Doesn't seem like he caught the big elim that he was looking for. And Zavi, just so much pressure coming in, forcing him back into the first order low ground. He seems hungry to try to chase down that elimination. Neko's kind of desperate here to escape at this point in time.
Yeah, Zavi had no choice. He used the porta potty, but you can kind of see him on the lone island, the south side of the map, kind of leaving Neko. Luckily for him, he did have that misform. Tries to create distance, once again, using the porta potty, and he's just going further and further towards the north, farther and farther away from his teammates, which in one side could be bad, but on the other side, at least they have a chance to go back and get that reboot card. But action going down all around the map. Scares able to get that knock onto Madden. His teammate follows, and there goes the last one trying to be the hero, but he's going to follow them back to the lobby.
Nice little team elim right there to set things up. Little update here for Clix and Yamzo. See what It's looking like over here. Several dashes here on Clix's setup right now. Still playing the Supernova Academy very closely here at this given time. And we know what teams are off to the north. Most likely to be Ree, Cooper, Curly. Got Preston's trio kind of nearby, and off to the eastern side, Soneto, Ocean, and Cam. So really, any one of these trios can already be on the move, but it seems like Yamzo's hot on the heels of Ree and Cooper. Little does he know that I don't see him here, kind of lurking. He'll likely get those opening tags. I'm surprised to see Blake's trio playing this zone kind of deeply like this. So just telling of the situation at hand here. They want to make sure that they are not rotating too soon into anyone else's warpath, if you will.
They got a couple options here too. They can go ahead and ride that first launch pad as deep as possible, and I think that one's going to be the case. But right next to them, there's that bunker, there's the rift. But what this is also going to do, because we talked about the surge towers, the overabundance of hills, all of them kind of collecting them. If they go at the bottom of some of these surge towers, they could find a little bit of extra resources that they can use, heals to make sure to keep the ones in their loadout untouched. It might not be the worst plan, but I will see the most drastic thing that is happening to a lot of these teams that are in that same position outside of the storm is you're kind of minimizing your win potential when it comes to that heal off at the end of the game.
There's that Cooper, Ree, and Curly trio rotating around the outskirts. That one little marker on the map, that's Yamzo looking at them from up above, looking for kind of some opening tags here. And there is a lurking trio still inside the zone. We knew that Crisis team was kind of moving behind, and big two-tap here from Reed onto Yamzo to put him down. Higgs is going to have to come to support ASAP. If not, it's not looking good right now for Clix and his teammate. Playing for the quick pickup here. Here, it all kind of unfolds right now. Reed backs off, kind of recognizing, wait a second, I don't need to open up here, but Curly falls, and a huge mistake being made there. And here comes Muzz's trio out of nowhere, collapsing in, taking full advantage of the chaos.
This is a prime example of why they sit in their surge towers, Monster, even after they get a knock. There's just too much distance. The revive came into play, and as soon as they were going to crash, Muzz's team got the knock onto Curly. Now Cooper and Reek are forced to try to stretch, use a lot of their materials in the fourth zone to try to make space. Shadow is putting down pressure. Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs, they've disengaged on out. They're just watching from above, smiling ear to ear, saying, hey, we started this, as Curly actually does get cleaned up by Dash. Monster, that is another trio around this spot on the map.
That's exactly where my head was going. Bryce and Dash's team seeing this all unfold here. They start to look in. They want a piece of the action. Why not find a few tags here? And you know they're thinking about Muzz's trio and how they were pushed off the drop. So that's personal for sure here. Clix, Yamzo, Higgs get bailed out of a treacherous situation and live to see another day. The team that is most affected right now is obviously Reed's team, but look, they've got in the reboot card and they seem to have skated out for a quick reboot here to come.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking of like Blessings. It is a north zone this time around. So even though they're going back to their POI, Flooded Frogs, there's launch pads over there. They can close the distance, dash sprites as well. So I do expect them to get their teammate back into the game. But how much Storm Surge did they just lose off of him going down and getting rebooted back into the game? That might have impacted them later on as we continue to get closer and closer towards the ending portions. As Minish Visuals and Braids, they've rotated up from Foxy Floodgates, and they've kind of centered themselves in that middle portion of the map, getting as much Storm Surge as possible. I saw multiple knocks in the feed on them and on other players. So right now, they just got to focus on their rotation, which seems a little bit easier because you see two more teams on top of the Brutal Box Cards Mountain, Bolts, Kanata, and Rapid being one of them.
Yeah, I saw Oliver OG's team affected there. Phaser taken down by Oliver OG just moments ago. So now it's all up to King, PH Zin, but it seems like they managed to pick him back up and get him back in the game. And look, that puts them below the surge. And this is exactly what we just kind of expressed, right? When you get eliminated and brought back in, you are effectively losing all that progress in the game. It truly is a huge setback. So now, how can King, PHN, and Phaser play this one out? This is exactly what we wanted to highlight kind of in those opening moments. Those breakdowns were all about, can this team figure out how to pick up the surge damage that is most notably here on NA?
Yeah, and essentially they need a
Very nice
full elimination and some. Exactly that. They get that knock on the Blake. It did look like Oliver tried to go ahead and turn back, save the day, but he doesn't know. Full trio's narrowing down, trying to get that elimination. 84 more damage for Storm Surge, but they still find themselves below the damage threshold. And with 2 eliminations for Diego and Blake, they're 600 above Monster. All they need to do is survive this onslaught from the Brazilian powerhouses.
Pretty great defense here by Oliver OG, though. I didn't expect him to be able to kind of make a move like that, but Oliver calls for the dash out. Definitely wise to disengage here. Seems like King, Higgs are not looking to give this one up. Oliver's going to go in and fall. Big crack from the side angle there. It's just a matter of moments here now before Diego will fall here too, but not before he takes down some serious damage. Wait a second, that Siphon's going to keep him in the game here. We can't count him out just yet. Cooper shows up as well. He gets put down by Phaser. What is going on here?
That early elimination, Curly going down, losing the Storm Surge. So many teams are being infected by that investment going sideways. And now with Cooper down, Curly's gone. Reet is just on the hunt trying to take down Phaser, but it's just going to get more and more tough because I saw Higgs in the distance as well. And there's that first player of Oliver's team. It might have been Diego. He got that first elimination, but he goes down. What is going on?
You can't pay for action like this. Reed versus Phaser one-on-one. This is where Reed shines, though. He queues up into fights like this all day long, but this time it's Phaser who connects the dots and closes the conversation right there. And now he will have a chance to get the pickup here, but look who's coming in. Other teams that need that damage. 668 below here for he lost the plot, but Phaser, I mean, he's warmed up. He's already done it against the best of the best. I think Plot's got something to worry about here.
I think this might be Chimp. OG Chimp. He may have lost the plot, but he might not have lost the skill. He's ready to kind of go ahead one-on-one against Phaser. Phaser's playing this so safe. He has 3 medkits. He has a decent amount of builds. He just needs to stay alive and continue to create distance. It's only bandages on the other side. He might not know this. This might be a hindsight thing to talk about. Monster He just needs to continue to stay alive. He doesn't even have to put pressure back. 6 builds. He continues to push forward. He knows his time is limited. Another big shot coming out from Phaser, but he did force to cancel that first medkit.
Very nicely done by him as well. Plays the med kit, gets the Siphon to kick in as well. And this is a huge damage tick happening here. I do think he might have Storm Sickness. Is that just, yeah, ticking away too fast. Too much time spent in the zone. And that's how it ends.
Honestly, I thought this major was going to be entertaining, but I didn't think it was going to be this entertaining this early on into game 1. It just goes to show that everybody, you know, when it comes to the practice, the eval cup, the divisional cups, even those scrims, it's really all being put to use. All those tricks being exposed here early on. And you're seeing them with those risks that some of these teams took early in game number 1. It didn't pay off. They might start to change up their thought process going into the next.
Really does make you think about how much time you spend in the zone. Bugha Threats and Crazy, though, putting the laser to use here. Very, very nicely done there. They're going to open up elimination onto another player there for Crazy's team, but Peterbot, Ritual, Cold have somewhat found their bearings. Just 114 above the damage threshold here. This is not usual for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold, but this is where they shine best. They've made it to endgame, and now everyone has to be very much on their toes. Clix, Yamzo, and Higgs just sections away from danger here, and they need a fight.
Yeah, below the damage threshold, above the damage threshold. They find the open opportunity there from Yamzo onto Soneto, and immediately, while Clix heals, the rest of his team pushes forward. They have that trust in each other for them to catch up. They clean up the elimination, get just a little bit more damage for their Storm Surge, but they're not in the zone just yet. While Higgs needs to heal, Clix as well. The damage is there. Yamzo is going to be the one leading the path, trying to build that perfect tarp of safety into the zone. And you're seeing the whole western side of the zone is stacked like a bunch of pancakes.
This is where Bugha Threats and Craze cannot be slept on. Endgame experience coming in full effect here, and now they've somewhat positioned themselves up for the first to take high ground. Another trio off to the eastern side here. Seems like Surge is also active. Yamzo, Higgs, and Clix right below this base here. So majority of the lobby pulling the zone here. That's a very favorable outcome.
We're seeing just looking over onto that team. The med mist smoke goes down. They don't necessarily see Veer and them getting affected by the active Storm Surge, but might not be the time to peek either. especially since they're above it. They're peeking through the cones. They're looking at high ground. They're saying, hey, is right now too early? They did pull it on their side for the most part. But on the other side, Pollo, Agers, and Acorn, haven't seen too much of them, but 500 damage above the threshold. They have a clear rotation because as the zone opens up, it's going to give them more and more of a path to choose from.
Take a look at the highlight here once again from Yamzo's perspective to go ahead and initiate the knock here, kind of clean things up onto Soneto's trio and get them right into the position that they need to be in here in the end game. These elims also start to add up. Don't forget those points are super critical here to the overall tournament format. Vuga, Threats, Praise back in the mix here. Give up the high ground, play for the mid layers, find a huge elimination here to keep them in the game. And just look at that. The Vets starting to get active here, and what a find. Dashes here for the end game is absolutely perfect. Meanwhile, on high ground, who would have thought Bryce's team from the storm to the skies here are the first to take a stab up top. I wouldn't have even thought they'd have enough mats, and I guess I was right. They really don't have much, but they're putting up a flex here.
Yeah, but at least this is going to give them a little bit of bird's eye view. The biggest thing is I need to know if anybody on this team has a misform, because that's going to make it easy for them to get the eliminations, drop down low, get the resources, and go right back up to that high ground. But if they don't have it, that's just going to make it more and more risky. The zone does pull a little bit in their favor, but the little builds that they have, it's getting more and more on the edge of, do we go for it? Do we give up height? Do we drop down and try to get elimination? I don't think they're in a safe spot no matter what they do. 1,000 above the threshold, though, for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. They're just focusing on the rotations. They're letting those elimination opportunities come to them.
Yeah, Skittles and Bryce actually find the Elam as well. They might get the refresh they're looking for. And then look at this. Look at a crash course into Kanata Bolts here on the mid-ground, forcing them off to the side. Rapid, wait a second. What are you doing, buddy? You've left your team behind. Someone's lost the plot for real this time. And he has now had his team singled out. But look, they turn around and managed to secure a little bit of height. Kanata forced off the high ground. Cold, Ritual, Peterbot now playing almost intentional low ground here for eliminations. This is the difference between kind of those group stages and finals, right? It's not about winning. Now it's about getting points here.
Yeah, that consistency, the eliminations, 4 points per one win with 10 eliminations, Monsters, over 100-point game. But Kanata, Rapid Bolts, we saw them getting pushed by Dash and Bryce. That was high ground team, and they said, you know what, you want this layer? You can have it. They immediately built up with the little builds that they did have left. Everybody's probably in a similar situation when it comes to material count, and they're using their eye in the sky to their advantage, going ahead and shooting down on the team. But Acorn, Pollo, Agers, exactly that. They're contesting for the high ground, and they haven't fought through the same amount of chaos as every other team, so that might be theirs to keep.
Oh yeah, look at how quickly Kanata folded his hand of cards there. Nope, you guys can have it. Pollo, Agers, Acorn head their way straight to the top. And listen, high ground might win games, but low ground wins tournaments. Ritual, Peterbot, and Cold are still in this one right now, racking up the eliminations down here, and it seems to be that they have full control. Clicks is down and out. Higgs and Yamzo are the last two left alive. Yamzo playing deep side of the storm here. Kind of swings around, finds Bolt, shuts him down. 2 more elims sent to the Yamzo's pocket here. And things are now starting to look very favorable for him.
Yeah, every team in this lobby, but maybe 2, are in shambles, are missing at least 1 player or a big chunk of health. But Peterbot still continues to set his eyes in the sky. He had the shockwave crystal, but it goes down. Cold is doing his heal off towards the back. Pollo, Agers, and Acorn in game number 1, uncontested at Demon's Domain, are in the driver's seat looking to close this one out. But Cold falls as well. All the pressure on the Ritual. He falls like a lawn chair.
Top 5 for the teams that we expect to win this weekend's tournament here. This grand finals is just starting to heat up. Yamzo gets a little siphon here delivered to him. Pollo still in the game here, healthy as ever. Acorn alongside him. Yamzo just a wild factor here. Now kind of setting things up. He's got a misform to go ahead and play with. Trying to see if he's got a win condition before him, but no, he doesn't. Instead, has to go ahead and take the fights here. Shot coming in from on top, though. Too much pressure. Has to misform around the outskirts here. Jacob is starting to get interesting. Decisions to go up might just happen here.
Yeah, he has no extra heals, so he knows he can't play the backside of the zone unless he gets an elimination or down. Jojo Fishy on one side. Visual's trying to break their way through. They're getting stuffed. They're getting smushed to the outside of the zone. HP is going down. The Storm is doing a lot of the work as Yamzo is trying to steal that one away, but he gets taken. Jojo Fishy gets it in the nick of time. The Siphon is now coming into play. High ground is diving down, but Acorn falls to Visuals. Nobody here is a full trio. That gives anybody a fighting chance, but nah. Not in Agers' house. He ends that run rather quickly. Forces outside of the zone for for Braids to play that heal off, and he only has a med kit and possibly some storm sickness on top. Timing is going to be crucial as Braids is trying to make that last-ditch effort into the zone, but he's in a 1v2, and Agers put that final nail in the coffin. A 10 elimination game number 1 for the Major 1 champs.
When they took height, they only had 3, and all of a sudden, that end game came boiling down pretty quickly. Talk about a game that heated up. That was incredible action. You know, I could put a ribbon on the tournament and be pretty happy with the action we saw just in game number 1 there, Jacob. Talk about exciting.
Yeah, we even saw it throughout the game. We saw Yamzo look up, couldn't get height. We saw Kanata go up there, challenge it, take it from Dash. And then at the end, they waited for that perfect moment. You almost got to give all the credit to Acorn, the IGL, even though he did go down here, making it a little bit close. But he was the one that probably made that perfect call that turned their game around and eventually turned it into this. The 2v1 Braids, even with all the builds in the world, did not stand a chance against Agers and Poyo. The Major 1 champion strike first in game number 1. Zeke, what are your thoughts?
That's it. Tournament's over. Poyo's better than Peterbot. There I said, okay, see you guys in Globals. See you guys there. Bye.
Hi, Zeke.
Wow. I cannot believe this just transpired, right? A hectic game, to say the least. And it's crazy that I feel like every time we look at like a different trio, it's like, oh, hey, them. It's them. They're on height. What is going on? So many chaotic things transpiring in this game. But at the end, Poyo and Agers managed to just stay together, right? Say, hey, look, we've been here before. We just need to stay calm, cool, collected. And they start the day with a VR with 10 eliminations. Kelly, that's too much. Whoa. Whoa.
It's such a good start. And honestly, it's Poyo, Agers, and Acorn that bring it every single time. And Jacob was talking about it. You saw all these different trios, all these players looking up for height, trying to take height. But it's Poyo, Agers, and Acorn that can literally be down, like, you know, just to 14 builds on the mid ground and somehow convert that into a strong height take. Poyo's ability with that mythic AR is just so dirty, so disgusting. He can just get eliminations from the low ground that are just everyone is so distracted by what's going on. Agers, Acorn, and Poyo play that end game perfectly.
I mean, MDF made the call, right? The end game was absolutely stacked, talking about how all of the trios that we kind of expected to win this weekend, they were all kind of found in the end game at one point. And then not to mention also teams that are qualified to the global championship with Braids, Visuals, and a minute in the mix right there as well. What a statement, though, from Acorn, Poyo, and Agers. I mean, complete dominance, right? It looked like the high ground was all but Kanadas, but the big boys going head-to-head up there for the win. Incredible stuff.
So many things happened in that game. So many things to break down. So much nuance. But first, a short break. When we return, we'll dive into some of what we saw at game number 1 and start preparing ourselves for game number 2. Welcome back, everyone, to the FNCS. I almost danced, but I stopped myself. All right, welcome back. Game number 1. I cannot believe it. Pollo, Acorn, Agers get themselves a victory royale. It was insane. 10 eliminations as well. But there's other things that kind of developed in that last game. We wanted to highlight here Clixie, Amzo, and Higgs. What was crazy about that is the fact that Zoe had to kind of solo clutch there toward the end game. And I mean, I feel like every time I feel like I see Zoe doing this in the end game, he's always, especially when it's a solo, he's always clutching like this, right? I don't know that I've ever seen a situation where it's just him and it's like, oh, we're gonna see something. Oh, he's eliminated. It's always like, bro, how is he in top 5? Like, what is he doing?
You know, we talked about this at the start of the show, that if this trio can just make it, all of them alive at the very end, that victory royale is within their grasp. But so many times we see them make it down to either a solo or a duo. But honestly, if there's anyone that's going to be a solo clutch, you want it to be Yamzo. He's so smart and he's so fast with these plays. And that's part of the reason why we see them currently in 6th place right now. Obviously not the best place that they want to be. They did get a 4th place finish there, but you know, 5 more games to go for today, 6 more games to go for tomorrow. Clix, Higgs, and Yamzo. This is just the start of their competition.
I mean, this game was just a return, right, to Yamzo. This is exactly what we saw in Major number 2. The solo clutches is what actually kept them in contention out of Yamzo to actually win the FNCS. Of course, we all know they got second by just a couple points, and the difference was absolutely crazy. But Yamzo, the solo clutches during that Major are kind of what made it so close. And, you know, listen, you know, XSET kind of put out this piece earlier this month, or a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was, you know, Higgs was like, hey, listen, you know, is Clix the best teammate you've ever played with? And he was like, no, Yamzo is. And we are kind of seeing why he believes that right now, because Yamzo just will always put on a show, even if he's the last one alive on the trio.
Dude, it's so difficult, right? Just think about how much pressure is on, like, in that situation, in grand finals. And it's just like, he's just bobbing and weaving, changing layers, finding elims, making it the top 5. Crazy stuff. Let's also talk about Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual in this game. So they're still uncontested, right? That's great. We kind of figured that would happen, and that's great. I love this positioning from the trio, though, right? Being in that front low, they just have all of this free, like, everyone that's trying to backside rotate, it's just free pickings, right?
Yeah, especially when you can see that they were a little bit low on mats right there. So while everyone else is kind of peeking high ground and kind of fighting for it, they're able to stay kind of in the back of zone, actually towards the side a little bit, where everyone else likes to stay in the front. They're able to kind of get these angles on all these players and grab elim after elim and refresh after refresh, which is what they desperately needed in this end game right now. Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot did such a good job on the low ground, and to have 2 exotics onto Peterbot has to be a crime. That's just so sick.
I mean, yeah, this trio looked like they were actually going to win it. Like, I loved the position they found themselves in the mid ground. Like Z kind of mentioned, they were able to just look back towards everybody kind of rotating in, pick up so many refreshes. I was like, wow, this looks really, really good for the trio. 30 seconds go by, we come back. Peterbot has no shield, but he's looking up at a high ground right, lands that pistol shot up there, knocks 2 people off black ground. Oh my gosh, they can go for high ground. But it's like, no, the tunnel vision kind of happened very, very quickly. They became those teams that were kind of rotated in and forgot that teams could be looking back at them, which is where we saw JoJo actually take out Peterbot right there. And then from there, right, the trio kind of fell apart there on out. But yeah, I mean, I still like how the trio is kind of playing, right? Kind of playing off of their eliminations and then looking towards the high ground. Love that game plan.
Dude, you know what I love? Aoxy, Joja Fishy, Pikes. These guys got themselves a victory out in group number 3, right? I was actually asking, he's like, when was the last time we saw these guys? It was just group 3. It was not that long ago, but they insta got a victory out, and now here we are in Grands. They pull off a 3rd place, 11 eliminations in game number 1. This is quality Fortnite, ladies and gentlemen.
They were just, I wish we got to watch a little bit more of them, because on the low ground, Aoxy getting 6 eliminations. JoJo, I thought that it was over for him once he went down to a solo player, but elim after elim, he was not slowing down. This is what I want to see out of this trio, and hopefully they bring more as the games go on.
Yeah, I mean, big game from this trio. Big game from JoJo Fishy specifically, right? Making sure to kind of play the heal up, play the meds right there, and then jump back in the mix, pick up a couple more placements, a couple more elims right there. Well played.
I'm ready for more Fortnite action. Game number 2 is upon us. So, casters, over to you.
Game number 1, Monster, was already so excited. It has me at the edge of my seat. And looking at the leaderboard, I didn't expect eliminations to play such a crucial role this early.
Yeah, who would have thought it, you know, really pick up as fast as it did? And you said it best. This is why you don't push early knocks. Even if you feel really confident, it's very clear that one mistake and your entire game plan can go downhill. And that's what's so dangerous about that northern side of the map. So let's jump in the battle bus one more time for game number 2. Here we go, Jacob. Game 2 is here. Game 1, talk about a just incredible showcasing of NA's best talent in the action, right? It's what we thought we'd be showing up to kind of view this weekend, but I think it went better than we all expected.
Nah, it did. The excitement levels are through the roofs. And honestly, that puts some of these teams on notice. You know, Reed Cooper, Curly being one of them, that there is no room for mistakes. Because I talked about the point differential for Major 1, Major 2, less than 15 points for both of those majors. It's going to come down to the wire if things do continue in this trend. The contested fight, we didn't necessarily get to see too much of last game. Liam's going to go down first. It is towards the outskirts, towards the right side of Shogun Solitude, left side of Demon's Domain, full south on the map. And they're able to clean up not one, both of those eliminations already for Gary, Aimred, and their trio.
Yeah, fast start for Aimred here. Madden's got big decisions to make. Say single build, tries to find an exit strategy, but doesn't seem like he was quite successful. But in a second, might be baiting them. The information there, that ramp, saying, oh, he went this way. Yeah, right. It's just behind this wall right now. You think it's going to work?
I want to say yes. Let's just go ahead and say yes. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. It's just too sneaky right there. I think the biggest downfall is going to be if he tries to move, because this actual spot right here, Monster, doesn't have the most loot. If they want to continue for Gary, Aimred, and Angel to loot up, continue with the rest of their game, and actually have a good game, well, they're going to have to go elsewhere, but they return back. They see him at the tail end, and that's the full trio out of the game.
Yeah, the math wasn't math, and they were like, hey, buddy, you couldn't have gone that far. And Madden V ends up getting found out. Well, great start for Aimred. Little trio elimination there. Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow clearly seem to be the stronger duo here at the Resistance base out the gate. This time, Bryce's team giving them a little bit more respect, right? Skittles and Dash saying, hey, let's just play the outskirts here. We don't necessarily want to clash too early. And they're going to go ahead and probably take their odds up against Reed's trio here later with the outskirts rotate. But Shadow, Sphinx, and Muzz seem pretty adamant on inching their way towards them to force a fight almost.
Yeah, you saw that mark on the minimap. They know exactly where they went. They rotated towards the north, and they're going to go back on over towards the east if they do want. There's a lot of loot over there. East of Resistance, west of Flooded. There's also a Slurp Chuck if they don't have the shields that they want, or just want to save some more. Another uncontested fight. We saw it in game 1. Poyo, Acorn, and Agers. They win that game, and in that game number 1, Agers put up 1,744 damage, the most assists in the game as well. Even though he booked that final elimination, it's just going to show how flexible all these players are.
Oh, yeah, putting in the work right there. And you know, Acorn's biggest fear is shutting down Peterbot early, right? Like, you really don't want them to have too much momentum in that last game. Seemed like, I mean, they were setting themselves up for a crash course to a victory, but yeah, things just went south. So Acorn's team, if nothing else, is one of the most consistent when it comes down to it. Bolts, Kanata, and Rapid also having a fairly, great start to their tournament. Remember, they're just playing for a global championship position at this point, right? They have a lot more on the line here than some of the other teams.
Yeah, and I think, it's Kelly, Vivid, Zeke that were talking about it, last week during group stages with Kanata and his perfect record, 27 FNCS Grand Finals appearance. Well, celebrating that's going to be short-lived because he's fighting this weekend for number 28, that global championship spot to remain the only perfect player to qualify from them all is Liam, Neko, and Zabi. They get that first down onto 1, and it looks like they are going to go back-to-back, getting 2 of the 3 eliminations off spawn at the first order.
A repeat of game number 1. This time a little faster than before. Back to Kanata, Bolts, and Rapid, though. Putting big pressure on that trio that they were tagging up originally. Seems like that first elimination might be giving them the confidence going to take the fight. We saw before, this is where mistakes can happen, though. You start to deviate away from your original plan, but it seems like this is very much in Rapid and Bolts' favor here to go ahead and initiate this off the Fredbot, but Aaron's got that side angle here, so they have to wait for Kanata. Yamzo, Clicks, and Higgs doing the same exact thing, finding themselves an elimination on the outskirts and then collapsing in to get the full finish.
Yeah, you're seeing the zone just kind of dictating a little bit of their game plan. Last game, it was towards the north. They played it slow, stayed towards Supernova, and just kind of played for that surge. This time around, it pulls towards the south. They knew not too many teams were going to float around their spot. Isolated fight, they take it. Kind of the same thing happening over here, but they are going to be in zone. They're fighting for that Spire loot that you saw in the distance. Fred, Aaron, and Caliper, they were the ones that kind of claimed it for themselves, or at least as most of it as they could, because Bolton Rapid immediately pushed over to try to disrupt as much of that play as possible.
Yeah, I will say that's one thing that is almost underappreciated is how much preparation some of these top trios will put into any scenario with those early game zones, right? They really will determine what strategy they put into effect. These are not decisions made on a whim. These are very much calculated routes that have been almost methodically planned out. And for Clix to, kind of showcase that, I just love to see it. But definitely with G Money, Aviv, and Rise, we didn't really get to see too much of them early in the last game. Seems like they had a bit of a slower start, if you will, but one thing's for sure, they're definitely catching good ranks this time. Spire's kind of gone in here in their drop, so Outpost Enclave treating them very well.
Yeah, not only Spire landing over here this time around, we are going to see a huge upgrade. It is going to be the Outlaw Yoink shotgun we saw Peterbot using in that last game, but the zone is also favoring in this direction. That's going to give them a little bit more flexibility. They're going to have priority on some of those rotations. The only team they just got to be careful for is Aegis, Acorn, and Poyo, and this is the perfect counter to all those surge bases. PH in,
Look at him
catching Chimp off guard. And there's another one. He's trying to slide down as quick as possible. Nah. I just seen that trick. Goes down the mountain. They have the launch pad. The choice is right here from the Brazilian Kings to just try to chase down another elimination if they so choose.
I love this. They're like, oh, you want to just chill in a big base? All right, buddy. We're sending you crashing. And this is why they are the most devious team in the lobby. This is the team that you just don't know what they have in store for you. Showing up here on the region, putting their own 2 cents into the entire mix here, and really keeping everyone on their toes. What a clash is going down right here, though, from Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow against a full trio. And you got, like, King Phaser now seeing this all go down here from the distance. They might just end up showing up.
Yeah, and you got to remember, Reet and them rotated out of this position as well, so probably everybody looking their left saying, good, easy surge, no risk. They're fighting in the distance, and no matter who wins that fight has to continue to rotate in us. This is what I'm wanting out of this position. I think Mud, Sphinx, and Shadow and their counterparts of Scuffy, Monty, and Core realize what's going down here. They cannot continue to play this because it's too much of a risk. Both teams choosing to disengage 2 different directions, play this one out because the zone continues to pull towards the south. It just makes it more and more of a dangerous position to keep yourself in.
That's the caliber of just accuracy right there. We'll play some Muzz, putting that big tag there to kind of open up, release the pressure. This is another look from PH Zin, the chop down. Go ahead and find Chimp. Zanetto sitting Cam on the other side here. Just 8 points earned in game number 1, so a lot of time to make up for here.
I love how players find tricks like that. They find so many nifty tricks. And that one's more known, but if you guys are wondering, if you dash into the launch pad, it kind of launches you forward, gives you the launch pad effect. You can open up the parachute, and you don't go as high, which means you're not as easy of a target. As you see some of these geysers being used, but they're going for alert play right now, sir. Taki, Ishao, and Vert, Seek, Donnie, and Joji, both teams kind of going at it, but one of them's kind of preoccupied with getting Surge across the map. We literally just saw this from King Phaser and PH Zen.
Yeah, I was going to say, they seem pretty distracted right now. And I mean, I feel like if you're the team playing Lurk on teams at these Surge bases, you have a huge advantage to catch players kind of out of position here, but I think they make a little bit of a mistake here not to jump on them when there was just 2 in the base, but they're going to be content to kind of hold it down. I think they're almost giving the soft signal, say, hey, look, we didn't get the elim. You guys can move on. Don't worry. We don't want no beef here. It's all good. And they're resetting their HP pools now.
The thing right here, because it. Just keep
Not
on
bad.
going. And this is the thing right here, because you saw the zone pull far to the south yet again. There's a geyser. You could double geyser, cover distance, but neither team has a chance to use it. Osid says, let me go for the high ground. They're not going to leave. Let me try to push them out. But it's also being a risky situation, because if they don't go ahead and try to disengage, they're going to stay and fight you. And the longer you are in zone, I said it for game number 1, it's going to happen here again in game number 2. That chances of winning the heal off goes out the window.
Interesting. They're forced to Medmiss here because Cam couldn't find any excess heals possibly left behind by Vert's trio there. And that's going to be one big key Medmiss down. Here comes the redash. Just go ahead and get ready. Donnie's team now had more than enough time to kind of situate, rotate out ahead. They'll be the ones putting up the resistance. Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow here at the resistance base. Kind of finishing things up this time onto Skittles, Dash, and Bryce here. And Bryce trying to hide, but they ultimately will end up getting racked up onto the point threshold. Aoxy, Pikes, and JoJo leading the elimination counts, though, and continuing to do so here. That's the momentum kind of in the sails here for our Group 3 stage. Kind of game 1 winners. Could be their season.
Hey, it could be 11 eliminations, 3rd place, 2nd place on the leaderboard after placing 3rd. Kind of beating out straight through eliminations, and now we're kind of getting a taste of how they're actually getting the job done. It's these early game fights. This one might be a little bit more risky. Remember, game 1 pulled north, and you see 3 teams in this location, even at 4th, all of them lurking slowly up the side of the mountain. It's not going to be as easy to chop down as a surge base before, but they're just kind of hoping one of these teams disengages, drops down, tries to leave, and they run into them.
Game 2 feels a little different, though. It seems like teams have almost threw the bases out the window and said, no, we've had enough of that. They've almost changed their strategies to those that have kind of based up in the general area. Cyclops, VLS, Mace Cube, still forced on the defensive. Starting to gas out here. Just a couple more 100 material counts left here. Meanwhile, Calipper, Fred, Aaron inching their way up to the top, likely to try to clean up the fight as it resolves here in the coming moments.
They got to be careful.
Way up.
They're getting lurked on at the bottom of the mountain as well. The lurkers are being lurked. 2 teams fighting up above. One of them actually disengaged. Cyclops, Bleaks, and Cube. Eoxy gets shot at by the 3rd party, so he's going to have to rethink that situation, and that causes a little bit of commotion underneath, because now that lurking team's position has been revealed, and with one team disengaging, that gives an opportunity for another 3v3 to go down at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, JoJo's team's now officially downloading that information there. Aaron seems to have been cracked by the team in the distance that they were trying to lurk up, and they almost seem forced to take this fight here. I have to assume they haven't really gotten a chance to get big damage in. JoJo finds Fred there. Fresh builds. I'm surprised they didn't just go for it. Saw a little bit of hesitation there, as likely the team's trying to decide, what are we going to do here? Take the fight, play it slow.
Nice, narrowly missing that opportunity.
Nice.
Thanks to the dashes, but JoJo takes one of his own. 3 HP elimination. He kind of needs it for the Siphon, but he's getting tossed, turned, flipped upside down for a moment before he actually gets knocked. But 1 HP, Aaron's trying to live on a prayer, but Pikes, Aoxy, they know how much damage is there. They're trying to continue to go through these builds and try to finish this one up. I think it is a 2v1. The other one did get knocked out. Caliper's going to have to fight this 2v1 the best that he can, but they're just going to drop down low, realizing, hey, we have a 3v1 advantage. If we force this res, we're forcing him in a position to either res, we keep the 3v2, or fight us in a 2v1.
And they do get the double pickup, so they'll be 2 times as fast here, right onto the wall. No, he had to cancel it, but Calipper finds a monster retag, and then a follow-up. The Siphon comes through. That's the finish onto Aoxy and Pikes there. How did this all just unfold so quickly? Now it's all up to JoJo. Clearly, JoJo was fired up, though. He's the one who initiated that opening elimination here. Double res on both sides. Talk about a full reset. Well played for Calipper. You got to give him super props for that.
Yeah, this just does not get any easier for JoJo Fishy. They need to figure out a way to swap some ammo. He has 2 shots left in his Sentinel. You got to make sure those shots count if you're not going to go ahead and re-up with your teammates, as he's looking all around the side of the mountain. Information, anybody else lurking around, because that was what just happened to them with Aaron and Caliper sneaking up on the side of the mountain. Now they're being extra careful. 2 builds left, though. All this investment to take this early game fight did not turn out how they hoped.
You know, I'm thinking that right now pressure setting in as well, right? Reality saying, hey, wait a second. We're almost 100 points in the tournament. There's no way we drop game number 2 right now. We just got to get this reboot going. We've gotten damage. We've done enough here. We actually don't need this fight.
And luckily for them, Aaron Caliper getting distracted by a whole nother team trying to rotate in from the side of the mountain. Canyons Crossing, Shogun Solitude. That's going to be Causers, Scare, and I think Magma on the other side. And they know, they just saw that team up there. They were hoping they already rotated out, but it is in zone. And just the hard part for both of these teams, Aaron Caliper and Jojo Fishy down below and his duo, is how are you not only going to get your teammate back up, but get the resources you need, because this whole side of the map is going to be stacked with teams taking those mountain ranges.
You can see it, 172 and then 131, wow. Just straight perfect shots by Caliper to keep him in the game. Masterfully done for them. Way to really fight your way through here. The final stage. That's just proof that teams deserve to be here. Monty, Scuffy's, and Coldo. Little cancel on the reboot there as they kind of wait things out. Another team floating nearby. Seems like they're the first to claim this reboot here, so should just be a couple moments before they'll get a chance to go and play this pickup. Peterbot and Cole's team on the move right now. A lot of action here.
Yeah, you can kind of see where they're rotating from. Their initial drop spot of Brutal. And that's the thing about Brutal, is you do not have to move early on in the game. It's relatively center, so even if it does pull south, you can kind of get Surge and all the teams rotating in as they find that open opportunity onto Gray, get the down, and immediately beeline it over. Preston takes some damage, and that gives them a little bit more information as they pick up that second elimination. That was only 2 players on that trio live, so they're all sent back to the lobby to watch and figure out what just happened.
Talk about like material count, they much needed. That's a full kind of pickup for this team. Early refresh right there to really give them momentum to keep pushing here. And now, and this time they have a lot more damage. Last time we were here in this setting, they had about just 100 above, so things for sure going in their favor here. And now I'm curious though, last game we saw by the time zone 6 and 7 came around, teams were getting affected by storm sickness, right? You can't underestimate the storm this kind of late into the tournament stages. You really have to start finding your way to safety.
Okay, I would be lying if I didn't say my jaw just dropped seeing them 499 below the damage threshold. I'm not sure what has been going on with this team, but they're almost 3 eliminations down when it comes to Storm Surge, and they are on the clock because it's going to start to activate 25 damage every 7 seconds. That's why they're pushing now, because they know timing is of the essence. Break it down onto one. They do have the side angle from multiple. That's Taki, Isho, and Bert on the other side as Cam tries to go in, gets the knock, comes at a sacrifice, but he does get the Siphon to clean that one up. His teammate Soneto falls on the other side, so it still is going to be a 2v1, but they trade that one away as they take down Taki as well. 2v1 situation, they're immediately going for the double res, but it's the same mistake that cost them as Bert sneaks around, gets the elimination and the Siphon, bringing it to a 1v1.
You thought he left? No, he was hiding under the base. And Sid may have actually did enough to at least end the Surge dump number there, right? He got the elim, go ahead and cancel it for the whole lobby, but my gosh, the pain has already been taken into account here. Vert does not want to mess around with that 2-tick zone right there. That's going to be big damage. Look at the play here. Doesn't even allow him to get the elim. Almost gets the full finish as well. It's the Siphon that keeps him in the game. What a huge set of eliminations. That's going to be his 4th one for them. A lot of points there. At least it's not a zero-sum game 2 here, but as far as how far they can make it here, Jacob, that's going to be a hard ask. This is quite the end zone, though. Look at this mountainous terrain here. This is going to be absolute chaos here.
Yeah, for the sake of the lobby, I'm pretty sure they're hoping it figures out a way to go south, kind of normalize out the terrain as balanced as possible. But for me, Monster, let's go north. Let's go ahead and buckle up for what could be a wild roller coaster ride of emotions up and down the side of the mountains. And you mentioned that situation earlier on, and it's just going to be drastic because you saw how many teams were up the south side of Demon's Domain. That's where the reboot is at. We're already in the 6-7 zone. That HP will be chunked out by the zone if you do not have the heals. So it's a huge risk versus reward scenario if any of those teams on that side of the map are trying to get their teammates back.
Yeah, and all this elevation, you'll be pretty much loading in right there, center line, into the line of fire, if you will. So this is all just types of sketchy situation unfolding here. Threats, Bugha, Craze fighting for a global spot right now. So far, so good. 72 points coming into game number 2. Tournament off to a hot start here in the distance. See players like G Money just barely holding on. Reet and Curly kind of survived that last storm surge. Seemed like there's just them two standing. Acorn, Boyo, and Agers, though, are going to be the kings of the hill, sitting very much strongly at the top. And then the zone pull. Okay, buddy. Things are just lining up here for them.
The script is certainly scripted today, and this is the JoJo Fishy fight earlier on in the game. This is the same build fight that they had here. Boyo, Acorn, Age was taking full advantage of a monument that was placed before them. Up on top, zone pull, multiple teams having to come from that edge of the mountain as well, from bottom up to the top. They literally have the best view in the house. Cooper, Reet, and Curly might not be as lucky. They are close to the zone, but you see how stacked up is that eastern edge overall.
Yeah, I wonder if Cliff's team even knew that they were there. No, they didn't. But Cooper, Reet, Curly, catch one. He seems to have slipped out there. Okay, I was holding my breath for a second, like, wait, Clicks or Yamzo might actually fall here, but it seems to have gotten out of that sticky situation. Reet, Cooper, and Curly are pretty desperate, though. They need a little more damage. They know they're pretty much the next team over from falling under.
4 of our global championship qualified teams are on this side of the mountain right now. Gary gets down by Reet. Kind of gets taken by his teammates, though, but that's not going to stop them. 3v2, they're just going to bulldoze their way through that cover. Aimred's going to be by himself. I'm not sure how much luck he's going to have getting out of this situation, but disaster strikes again. Curly, Cooper, both of them go down, and the pressure is all on to King Reet.
Yeah, it's Clicks and Yamzo. They end up getting that side angle there once they pushed in. They were on the layer. And look at that. They pretty desperate for the builds here, so they're almost going to be forced to probably pick this up here. Yamzo seems to have been the one who, jumped into things, but they'll have to potentially split some mass, so they're not in the best scenario for an endgame that's going up and over a mountain by any means. Think about Ritual and Cold, on the other hand, seem to be very much comfortable. Things are going to pull back west. Yeah, so it's going straight over these kind of elevated section here. Take a look at the highlight. They kick things off. Aim Red found by Pewterbot and Ritual there, healing through the builds. And look who doesn't have to move at all. Acorn, Agers, Boyo, so far above the damage kind of threshold that they need to be at. And again, the zone has pulled favorably for them this far, so they'll be the last to rotate next.
Yeah, it does go down the side of the mountain, but exactly that. They can just take their time, watch every team position themselves in front, and just kind of continue to maintain their position above, because they're just going to land right on top and build up yet again. Clicks, Higgs, and Yamzo, they're alive. 5 eliminations, 86 points, and above the damage threshold, but they need an elimination, whether they're getting the Siphon or any of those resources. Reek was able to get one towards the backside of the zone, but that heals are only going to last for so long, because he has to find his way in now or never for Reek.
Still holding on here, but he's in the zone. Damage starting to add up. Boyo forced to kind of give it up here. Double dash to get across. It's Acorn, Boyo, and Adrian set up for high ground, but they know best. This is definitely risky, right, to hold height this early, even into the end game. Although they've been gifted, they will have to stay on their toes if they want to pull a back-to-back victory royale. But one thing's for certain, the top 10 should be very much in the conversation, in the books here. Look at Crazy Threats, though, making their way across this awkward terrain here. Try to stay out of the line of sight, out of the action. And this is just beautiful zone reads. Great rotates here. Take notes, guys. This is how you do it.
In theory, they might be able to get priority on that slow side of the zone, but Huga's kind of damaged up, forced to dash around. Peterbot holding another team outside of the zone. He's going to get one onto O-Zone. That brings their total eliminations to 6, over the 100-point thresh mark. No extra heals in his inventory, Monster, though. And you can see Cold, no misform. He's going to be stuck with the dashes. That's all that's left over as they get to the front side of the zone. Now is their time to start popping off, because they have to start accumulating the points, keeping it consistent and keeping it at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. They're choosing a day one strategy to just play ultimate load, find eliminations. I wouldn't put it past them if day 2 is going to be high ground day. Just come out the gate looking for big victories, but we're still early in the tournament setting right here. For some, it's just about getting your groove, playing it how it kind of comes here. But Peterbot and Ritual can play any situation. Just give them a chance to. And look at that. Find themselves a nice little chug jug as well. That's going to be very much welcome, given that they don't have heals here. Ultimate low ground, though, they have full control here. Things are going to be bouncing back towards the canyons, crossing down and over. And look, no one here has a lot of mats. This is why you don't see anyone contesting any kind of mid-ground layer. It's all very much low-level gameplay here.
Yeah, exactly that. No one's even looking up to kind of contest high ground because they don't have the resources, even if it does look free to take. Agers, Acorn, Pollo, they've been conserving all of their material zone after zone up until this point, but it continues to move over towards that bridge. King's in a tough spot. Two of his teammates went down right before his very eyes. He's used the misform to reposition, but it was Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold that did the damage to Team Brazil.
And they find King here now as well, putting in a little bit more pressure. Cold's going to go ahead and trust in Ritual to go ahead and clean that one up. Asia's going to be the one who finds the elimination. Peterbot finally starts to turn to high ground now. Pollo comes down, try to put that extra pressure in, and just note how fast Pollo was to attack right there. Pulling out the fangs here. Clicks, though, getting active. Med misplay, love to see it here. G-Money just trying to stay alive here. Aviv looking for a side angle, too, but nothing's going to come and be available. Instead, it's Cold who snipes that elimination. Another one for Cold, Peterbot, and Ritual here.
Yep, 30 on that Chug Jug. He knows it's not a lot, but it could be just enough. He even finds one more use onto that misform, but shots coming from the side, so he has no choice but to move forward. That's Higgs, that's Cliz, that's in his warpath as he continues to fire down, but turn around rapid. He was able to get that first down. Bolts is able to get two. Peterbot, Cold have just been dismantled, leaving Ritual by himself, but he's able to get a spot in his own as he runs out of mats.
Clicks is going to fall there as well. He tries to play a med kit play in the zone. It's Bolts who's last standing here. Mess kind of misforms around the side. Higgs is still standing as well. Fourth place now, sees Ritual here. Tries to go for a big one. Finds a tag, but he has to get the finish here. This is all or nothing. The first whip, but the follow-up was good. Pollo, Agers, and Acorn are here to stay, though. Looking for the second victory royale now, Jacob. Talk about back-to-back monster games, a 10 Elin dub as they do it again.
That is exactly it. You know, you're not watching a rerun. 10 elims in back-to-back games. 105 points again over that 100-point mark. They've scored more points in these two games alone than any other team probably has combined. And that just shows how dangerous they actually are. That just shows how practiced they actually are. And it just goes to show that you cannot leave a team like this uncontested.
And this is why they are so scary as a team, one of the most consistent trios to ever do it. I mean, Acorn surprises us time and time again, and then you just have Agers really earning his weight right here, fighting alongside Pollo. We can't say enough great things about this trio here, but to win 2 games in the grand finals, just to go in and kick it off, talk about a wonderful, wonderful performance. Agers, Acorn, and Pollo, they do it once again, Zeke. How do they do it?
You know, when we talk about consistency, this is the kind of consistency we dream about. Back-to-back victory royales, 10 eliminations. Guys, they are far ahead of everyone else. Oh my gosh. Guys, where do we even begin? We were sitting there watching this game, and it's like, in 7th zone, we're like, oh, look at that. They're above everyone. Oh, look at that. The zone pulls favorably for them. They don't have to spend any mats. They're just sitting on high ground on a mountain, 1,000 above Surge. And they have a medallion. I mean, Kelly, they had it all this game.
Yeah, I mean, from their start to getting Rift Island to this smart positioning of themselves around Zone 8 to build up the tower on the peak of the mountain. The zone pulls in their favor. They're able to control high ground. And Vivid at one point while we were watching was like, yeah, no one's going to even try and take high ground. There's just no shot. And no one did.
Yeah, I mean, obviously their position was really, really good. Coming off the mountain, you can establish high ground pretty easily with that. But it was like, yeah, right around that zone 7, zone 8 mark, the zone's kind of pulling up to that mountain and then going on the other side of it. It just made every single team that was not Acorn, Agers, and Pollo in complete shambles. I mean, everybody had to invest not only materials, but then all of their heals because they're getting shot in the back from all the other players rotating. Like, it just created such a mess amongst every other team because of how that zone pulled that I was like, yeah, nobody has the mat economy or the heal economy to even look up at the higher ground. And sure enough, Acorn, Agers, and Pollo kind of walk away with that one uncontested up on the high ground.
Oh man, and you gotta feel too like they knew that so early on, right? Like the moment that you start to go over the zone and we go like north, and it's like, oh, look at that, none of you guys have anything. You gotta walk up here and look at our big storm base. Like, Oh my gosh. That was 2 games. Let it also be known we've not gone to heel off 2 times in a row. Shout out to NA. Let's keep that going. Wow. Pollo, Acorn, Agers, an extremely strong start out of here. Don't forget, they've already qualified. They're just playing for money. They're playing to make sure that we go to globals. Their drop spot is uncontested because that's what we're trying to accomplish here. My gosh, we're going to go to a break, okay? I need to take a breather. When we come back, we'll break down more of what we saw out of that game. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Pollo really took that song very seriously. He went harder than Harder Goes and got 2 victory royales and 10 eliminations back to back in the first 2 game grand finals. I'm still in shock, but it's fine. It's cool. Zeke will recover eventually. Let's talk about some other trios that performed crazy good in this last game. Clix, Higgs, Andy, Amzo. Higgs, what are you doing, bro? A solo clutch out of this last game. 10 elims from the trio. 2nd place? What is going on, Kelly?
I mean, if you have watched this trio over the last few weeks, you would not be surprised to see Higgs being able to clutch out this solo ability. He's done it so many times, but honestly, what we've seen out of him specifically over the last season, he has just had so much growth. There was a lot of questions as to if he was locked in. There was a few times where he just wasn't ready, wasn't queuing up for tournaments, but he has turned that around. We have seen him just download the game to a T, and he is now showing what his ability can be once he's locked into the game.
This is one of those games where it's like, okay, this is going to be an unfortunate one for them. They're stuck on the side of this mountain. We started to look at clicks. He had literally 0 builds at one point. I was like, oh man, like they're going to fall down the leaderboard after this game. And then there they are in the end game somehow. I mean, just incredible stuff. That's what champions are made of, right? That's why they play so well in some of these FNCSs, because they can make the most out of games where it seems like they shouldn't be able to.
It's just so impressive, dude. Like, I don't even know. We also have Peterbot there in 3rd place, right behind Clicks, Higgs, and Yamzo. 4th place, 9 eliminations from them as well. Dude, in the fact that, like, we're still in zone, in, like, 5th zone, right? We're sitting on the front side of the zone. Had that, like, pulled differently, this would have been a completely different story. But the fact that it doesn't, like, these guys just know how to operate. Like the moment that some new information is presented, hey, here's a new zone pool. Hey, there's 2 different trios in this corner after you rotate out and they're all fighting here. Hey, Peterbot, you wanted to shoot that guy really fast? Go ahead and get an impact right here on the spot. Like, I don't know how they just force like the Fortnite RNG in their favor, Kelly, but they do it all the time.
They are so prepared as a trio for whatever situation the end game comes down to. But I almost wonder if it's to a fault where they are so confident in their play style that when they see another team on the low ground, they go for the aggression and then they miss out on other trios like Bolts right there, being able to get the elimination onto Cold and Peterbot. I feel like the worst enemy to Peterbot is Peterbot himself. When his confidence allows him to think that no one else is going to be looking for them and no one else is going to be attacking them, that's when they tend to fall a little bit.
I've got to say, it's kind of crazy, right? We take a look at the big 3 of the region. Agers, Acorn Play, obviously in 1st place after 2 incredible games. Clicks, Higgs, Yamzo, and Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual around 150 points. You know, after such 2 big games from Acorn, sure, you'd feel like they'd be further behind, but no, they're putting up incredible games by themselves as well, kind of staying in the contention. And there's just like this big gap from 3rd to 4th and 5th, where we see Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts down there as well, and Bugha, Threats, and Craze. Both of those trios, by the way, we talked about, okay, they're going to qualify to the global championships throughout this weekend. But yeah, Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts, it's great to kind of see them make it into the end game throughout both of these, right? Obviously a big improvement this game with the 3rd place and 4 eliminations.
Yeah, even with the loadouts being a little different than what we typically see from Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts, they're still able to handle this kind of low ground aggression. Bolts playing so smart on the low ground there. She's making such great peaks, getting eliminations onto some pretty big names. And Bolts has just done such a good job. You know, we talk about players being locked in. I don't know if I've ever seen such a transition of Bolts from the start of this year to the end of this year out of any other player.
I'm so sorry. I'm laughing really hard here because we were told to talk about Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts, and they whispered into my ear, and Vivid picked it up instantly, started talking about it, and Mickle literally said, "Wow, Vivid's the Peterbot of the broadcast." And I just lost it. Anyway, sometimes we break Zeke. It's fine. We're gonna go back to the action though. Game number 3 is ready for us. Casters, please help. Just go to you.
I got to agree, though, with that statement. He is probably one of the best. Vivid, don't go anywhere. But this is game number 3, Monster. This is where things are starting to heat up. There's almost a 60-point lead over 1st and 2nd place.
Yeah, you would think we're about 4 games into the tournament with how much Acorn has managed to pull through so far, but this is what you expect of that team. And you sit down, you look at the content that Acorn puts out when he starts to really think and dissect the way things work at a high-level competition. They have no doubt in their capabilities of taking home another championship. Well, it sounds like that 3 game is ready, Jacob. Let's get on. All right, game 3, Jacob. That one came faster than we all expected. We're at the middle mark of the day. Things are heating up here. And, again, let's talk about these teams that are in the running right now. It almost feels like it's really a conversation about the big 3.
No, it definitely is. And, there was a stat at the beginning of game number 1 around there. Peterbot, most damage in finals, 5 straight majors in a row. Guess what? Number 1 and 2 after these games is both Agers and Poyo, but a fight that never stops. In game 1, these two clashed heads at the resistance space. In game 2, they chose to go 2 different directions, but in game 3, Muzz, Sphinx, and Shadow get off to a hot start. They win in seconds, and now they can play the rest of the game out like normal.
Definitely a big way to set things up, and it's just getting better and better. They are refining operations here at the base. On the other side, though, someone has now officially decided to show up and contest. We thought they might have been showing up before, but seems like they were saving that place for a little later into the tournament. And with how much of a lead they had, Agercell puts up a fight, but already now 2 sides are down. It's a 2v1 here for Acorn. Acorn hit up as well. He tries to slip out the side. Metmus comes down. He gets a little bit of a tick there for some HP, but he's got no builds to work with. This is not looking good, Jacob. Oh my gosh.
I feel like the whole lobby just got a sigh of relief. We were talking about the gap, the 60 points, the terror of back-to-back games. Well, that has come to an end here in game 3. For them, they have just reached the halfway point of day number 1. And now that they got a feel, they can talk about it. Roughly 25 or so minutes, Monster. They can figure out, now that we're being contested, we can go back to what we practiced.
You know what's crazy too is like Acorn is known for like these day 2 big day tournament returns. Very rarely does he have a strong day 1 start, and I hope we're not seeing history repeat itself here when it comes down to that trend on average. But it's Zaire who kind of kicks this one off. You see the opening eliminations there, and then they'll finish up onto Acorn. What a huge momentum shutdown there.
Yeah, and you got to imagine, if you see that in the feed, Monster, what does that do for you? How much confidence does that give you, whether you're Clix's team, Kanata's team, Peterbot's team? I feel like you kind of put you on a whole nother level in terms of confidence.
Liam, Neko, team that obviously has been extremely confident time and time again. Very nice little kickoff there. He almost resets the fight there with elimination, baits him into the angle, but Jig Jr. coming through, finding elimination.
I don't remember who that third team was that initially landed here in the triple contest for game 1, but I think they got the right kind of mindset. Even though this was our drop spot leading up to this, we planned for a triple con, and that side of the map, there's so many corners, so many places to hide, nooks and crannies, that I kind of agree with trying to change up that job spot instead of hitting your head up against the wall over and over and over again. As Cold Ritual Peterbot uncontested at the Brutal Boxcars. And we're seeing how they set up. While one kind of farms up all the metal at the actual location down below, 2 people set up 2 different towers and start to fire off for Surge.
Huh? Demon's Domain heating up here, Jacob. I saw them on the map. You know, I wasn't too sure what was happening here with Zonda, Power, FN, and Blue. Like, if it wasn't Acorn's team, right, getting cleanly contested by Cyrus and Zaire, like, it probably would have been Zonda's team. It was like, hold up, what's going on over here at the Demon's Domain?
Kind of just slowly rotating. There's a third team there. Cyclops and them are also at Demon's Domain. 4 teams in game 3 trying to claim Demon's Domain. They want that medallion, the extra shields, the Mythic Spire. There's just so much you can get. And the freedom if you go and get that Foxy Floodgate Zone, if it does the island spawn over there, as Yamzo, Higgs, and Clicks, they're getting more and more aggressive. Instead of setting up their surge bases on this side of the map, they saw how empty and open the space was. So they now realize they have to go back to their old normal strategy of fighting for their surge on the northeastern part of the map.
I mean, answer me this, Jacob. Do you think it's because, like, oh, we see Acorn's team get team wiped in the feed, let's make a move? Or is, like, the hit put out and everyone's like, yep, we're coming here no matter what? Because, like, if that's going to be the trend of the evening, I mean, it's going to become harder and harder for Acorn's team to escape. Look at this.
How did we not initially see this? Where did the 2 other teams even come from in this fight? And the one that originally won it, Naps, got taken down by Vleeks, H-Cube, and Cyclops, forcing his team to disengage. Then you still got Power Blue and Zonda. And then what is this? Chocho, Ayatsi, I don't see Pikes just yet, but a fifth trio at Demons?
Yeah, it seems like the bounty is up for this medallion here. Cyclops Lex and Ace Cube seem to be the kings of the hill right now. They've got things somewhat under control, but there's just so much happening here in the vicinity. It's almost like no one's got time to go ahead and get situated. Aoxy, Jojo, Pikes end up showing up.